Welcome to Disturbingly Cheap Reviews. This week we fix up an old house just in time to paint the walls red with Mask Maker. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A group of college students are fixing up a house that may or may not be haunted, and just happens to be out of cell phone service. Shockingly enough, a supernatural killer rises from the dead to politely ask them to leave the property. But let's go more in depth, shall we? A college couple go for a trip, and the guy reveals that, for his gal's birthday, he saved up and bought an old house, long considered cursed. His idea is to fix it up for them, or just sell it. He even surprises her with friends to help clean up. The only problem is, he pulls a stake out of the ground that just happened to be holding the spirit of a killer at bay. A killer who really doesn't appreciate company at all. And here's the thing. As much as I jest, because this plot has been done literally hundreds of times, Mask Maker actually provides a good movie out of it. Sure, there are questionable parts to this film, such as the stupidity of the guy who would think that there is nothing sketchy about buying a two-story home on 40 acres of land for an insanely dirt cheap price. I guess that's the kind of dumb that horror movies are made from? But that is exceptionally dumb. What I really liked is that the characters are consistent, and the script smoothly moves from one scene to another. Without going too much into it in the review section, the killer gets a decent amount of backstory, which might feel forced in at times, but I think added to it. This movie doesn't rely on over-the-top gore to keep your attention. That isn't saying it doesn't have its moments, but it isn't constantly throwing red guts at the camera. Also, it has a small role for Michael Berryman, who you probably know from the original The Hills Have Eyes, and a supporting role for Terry Kisser, who you probably know as Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. And you know what? He's a lot better when he's not dead. So I'm going to give this movie a good solid B. It's a cliche tale that is fun to watch. They've created an interesting killer with a decent backstory. The writing is well done, the acting doesn't impair the film whatsoever, but on the negative side you will have to put up with the occasional, obviously stupid decision, and in all honesty the ending is a slight letdown after all the earlier work. And speaking of the ending, that's the end of the review section. Time for spoilers. Before I begin, the Mask Maker name is in reference to how a voodoo-powered killer tends to rip the faces off those he kills and wear them like masks. Anyway, after every other member of the college group is dead, our main girl flees around until Terry Kisser, appears to have a showdown with the killer. Of course, about 20 years later, it doesn't go as well for him. Having a much better plan than straight-up confrontation, the main girl distracts the killer by wearing his mother's clothes, and then stabs him in the eye and chest with a stake. She goes to burn him to prevent further reanimation, but the police arrive and stop her. After a brief scene where an antique dealer offers her $1 million for all the valuables in the house, she goes to drive away, but stops to have a good cry over her dead friends. A cop car pulls up, but it's actually the resurrected killer who promptly snaps her neck. The end. Yeah, that was quick, wasn't it? I will admit that this supernatural monster, who really isn't a monster as much as just a kid who got a really bad break in life, and then got voodooed up, I guess, is well developed and really interesting. I give this one a definite recommendation. So until next time, don't just buy something 'cause it's cheap. Idiot.